You think there is something that this screen can do for you. You are sure of it. A few liquid crystals could save you from this corporeal existence. You don't want this leaking system, sweat, blood, and body fluid. You want to become pure data, raw data. You really don't want to be a human in a fantasy world because you are a human in the real life. For one thing, there is no fun in it. This is where you get to escape from real life. The line I just read to you, they are from a film that I wrote 3 years ago and that I, in the end, never made. And it was a movie that I imagined about two characters trying to load themselves into the virtual world. And the whole subject was which amount of the material existence can enter the unforgivable eyes of the needle, that is digitization. My name is Diane, as you know, I'm a transmedia artist. And this question, can a digital copy save the real thing? Save in the sense of backing up a file, but also save as in salvation, meaning could a digital copy do something for the something special, something unique for the material object that is trying to copy in the virtual world? Is a question that is really recurrent in my practice. So I'm a weaver and I'm a digital artist. I work with both medium and more, but those are really the core of my practice. And for me, the relationship between materiality and virtuality come from the loom at the origin of computation. So I don't know if you know, but the jacquard loom and also the different weaving technique were able to birth the binary code. And weaving is the crossing at the right ankle of a vertical thread called warp and horizontal thread called weft. And if you imagine that one thread of the warp above one thread of the weft is coded as 0, and one thread of the weft above one thread of the warp is coded as 1, then every weaving can be summarized into binary entries. So this is like the basis of the binary code as you know it. And so in my practice, I explore the historical, technological, aesthetic, mathematical links between that thick history of textile and weaving and computers. So to do that, I made different pieces. So sometimes I made interactive installation, like this one. That was my first ever interactive installation, where for the first time I try doing this thing that you're going to experiment today, which is a textile keyboard that is used to navigate inside a video game. So the idea is that instead of using like a normal boring plastic keyboard, you get to have this feeling of the texture under your finger, and this is how you navigate inside a digital world. And I'm going to pass quickly on it. And I have more traditional pieces, like that are woven pieces, but you can see that the lexicon that I use in my work is still very present there. You have like the cable, you have the die, you have all this vocabulary that is around technology, kind of. So the project I really want to tell you about is the one that I'm working on right now, which is named The God of Calculation. So it's a research and interactive installation project where I'm exploring the ideas of the colonial supercomputer, of the notion of overkill, machine intelligence, and embodiment of data within textile and craft. And it's a project that focuses on the supercomputer for the top 500 and green 500. So I don't know if you know that, but in the world, the most powerful supercomputer on Earth are ranked into a ranking that classifies the most powerful machine. And something that was very obvious to me, obviously, is the fact that despite the crucial role of Africa in providing raw material for those computers, there is not a single one of them that is on the continent. So I start to think about that, and that brought me to imagine a speculative narrative when I imagine that in the act of reparative justice. So to tell you a bit more about this is the point number 9 of the CARICOM, the Caribbean Communities. They have this paper called the 10-point action plan, which is a paper that it is a guideline about what should be done for reparative justice for the former colonies. And point number 9 is about technology transfer. So technology transfer is the idea that the former colonies, they were denied the right to participate in the history and the development of technologies, and they have a right to do so now. So for me, that was an interesting point to explore, and around that, I built that speculative narrative where I imagine that as an act, as an application of that point number 9, there is 5 of those supercomputers from the top 500 and Green 500 that are tasked with building twin on the African continent. But then those supercomputers, they are different because they are built by the machine themselves. And when they are implemented in the different countries on the African continent, instead of just being a normal armature of boring armature of of metal, they start to melt with the local culture and craft and knowledge system, and they also turn into avatar with this idea that mathematics and technology there is often embodied by figures, so it cannot just be something that is out there in the cloud. And so they turn into these gods of calculation, this is how I call them, and they function as an operating system between machine and people. And so so this is like the narrative, but this is not what the piece will be like. So the piece is an interactive installation where I will present those 5 gods, and you get to talk to them and ask them different things. But the most important thing that you can ask them is for them to give you a prophecy. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to explain it clearly, but one of the big ideas with this project for me is to explore the idea of divination, because I feel like the way we relate to AI and supercomputer nowadays is as they become more and more powerful, maybe they will reach a threshold where we don't even understand the calculation they are running. And so then, if it happens, what is the difference between their result of calculation and a prophecy? And it's this idea that those new machines are so powerful that they go beyond something that is graspable by us, and what they give us is prophecy. Prophecy is about the future, about the ecological future, because this is one point that is clearly important. And yes, this is the idea is that the final installation is a structure with this video game, and instead of just talking to them through a normal keyboard, again, you use a textile keyboard, but also this sculpture that is called a mancala that I will show later. That is, it's object. It's a game that is played in Africa, but before, in the pre-colonial time, it was also used as an abacus, not only a game. So I would love to introduce you to my gods and tell you a little bit about how I've been working on the project with them. So the first god is Mandu Yenu. It's a direct reference to a throne from Cameroon, from the Bamoun kingdom. It was a throne from King Joya, which is a really famous king in Cameroon in the colonial time. And his throne is currently in Germany, in Humboldt Forum, and it was considered a gift, so it was never given back. And it's an object that for me is fascinating because it's one of the most beautiful crafted objects when it comes to building technique in Cameroon, but it also embodies this idea of like the core of the problem with when we speak about reparation, and of course one of the big points of reparation is also sending back the object. So in my project like this, you have I don't know how to call them, but a little Easter egg everywhere about like things, like it's just the name of the god, but it's also bring you to another history. So the first god is a god of particle and bed, and it's the one that we'll get to play with later. So with this god, I explore the idea of the bidding technique in Cameroon, but also it's a god that I paired with Perlmutter, which is this supercomputer that is working on dark matter and dark energy particles. So every time in the project, I try to pair a craft technique and textile technique from the country where the god is going to be implemented in, with the actual area of expertise of and research of the real supercomputers they are the twin of. So so this is like a picture of the front that you can see. And this is what I was picking on earlier. So this so the idea with the final installation is each god has a specific textile keyboard and a specific sculpture. So you don't use the same for every god, and each one is in a different material. So this one is made in glass. And the idea that I'm working on also, that I'm trying to develop with Diane, which is the person who will help me with the code of the video game and the interactive system, is so you use the textile keyboard to navigate into the game, a different choice. But when it comes to making a prophecy, you move the seed inside the mancala, and depending on the amount of seeds, like the balance where they are placed, you will get a different prophecy. So there's a little algorithm, it's thing, like I know what's going on, but I don't know all the detail of that. But the algorithm picks and is able to count which seed is where. And it's I like that idea because I'm a big Mancala player. And one thing that I love with this game is it teaches you about balance and about when you have to be generous and when you have to hoard. Because if you hoard, you seed when you play this game, the goal of the game is to catch the seed of the opponent. But if you hoard your seed to do that, then it becomes harder and harder to win. But so you have at some point to practice generosity. So yes, that's just a little anecdote, but that's kind of why for me it was important in this project. So the second god is Lekai Lekai. It's the twin of the supercomputer Fugaku, which is a Japanese supercomputer that is well known for cataclysm prediction, simulation, multi-threading. You know, Japan, they have a lot of seismic activity, so makes sense. And I paired it with Senegal. And this allow me to speak to you a little bit about how I work on the animation of the god. So you see on the two screens, this is like the first snippet and example of the animation of the god. So for each avatar, I use motion capture to do the movement. And motion capture is interesting, but it has a big bias. And its big bias is that it's made for human. So it's trying to stick to a human. It's trying, you need to have, 2 arms, 2 legs. And that became a problem here because Lekai Lekai is a reproduction of a mask in Senegal that is made of thread. And to explain to you a mask, this mask specifically, there is no one underneath. It is how it is understood. This is a spirit, the entity. There is no dancer, nothing. There is nothing underneath this mask. So I had a problem because from one side, it is something I perfectly integrate and understand. And from another side, as a 3D animator, I want to know what's happening kind of underneath. If I want to think that there is a dancer, because I need a body to be able to do the motion capture. And so that sounds like a technical question, but it's an ethical one. The ethical question is, with new technology and the tools that we use to make this kind of project, where do we negotiate between respect and having the data that we need to produce the project? So for me, in the end, I decided to go completely experimental. I'm working with Noam Rezgi, with a 3D animator, and we try to find a solution where we could stay respectful to the idea of the Kumpo and not try to look about what is going on underneath. So I'm just going to put the sound so you can hear a bit. That I faced with the third God. For different reasons, I also have a problem with the motion capture because this mask is from that God is inspired from is a Zauli dancing mask who come from the Ivory Coast. This mask is different. It is understood as something like you see the training, you see the kid learning the technique. It's a really, really difficult dance. It's actually one of the most difficult dance in the world because he has a lot of fast-paced movement. And so I tried to use the motion capture on the archives that I had. And then there was trouble again because it looks like a human, but it's bigger. He has all the adornment. So the software, it just want to snap to a normal human in the background. And then also like the software was just not able to catch how quick the movement were. So what I ended up doing with this mask is I myself dance in the motion capture studio, replicating a bit of the move and mixing them with the archives that I had. So yes, I'm speaking a lot about the technical because also I think this is where for me I get sometimes new ideas and I get to have the results that I have in the end. In the 3D field, there is a lot of emphasis on reproducing with perfection the material. You know, when you see like the ad of the new software and stuff, they are like, oh, look, wrinkles, we can make them perfect. And for me, I think it's more interesting to see what happens when you cannot fully reproduce the real world and what is happening in that gap in the middle of that. So I would just also here. The fourth and five god, I'm going to speak a little bit quicker on them, but I think you got the idea about how I work. So the fourth one is Tabaya Tsonso and is in Lesotho. So it's the god of highland water, fiber, encryption, and it's a shepherd because Lesotho has a big shepherd culture, and Lesotho is also known for the extraction of a diamond, which are going to be really, really important for the future of computation because quantum computer use diamonds. So that's why I wanted to integrate him within the idea of the project. But in terms of animation, it's way more simple because he looks like a shepherd and a human. And it's this is Mancala. So this is my favorite one. I made it in 3D printing and filled it with non-freezable liquid, and to integrate the idea of water inside. And this is 5-God K1, which is paired with the most, not anymore, which used to be the most powerful supercomputer on Earth, Frontier. Right now, the most powerful machine is El Capitan, but I decided to not integrate it in my project because it's working only on military projects. But, as an anecdote, it's something to keep in mind. In today, 2026, the most powerful machine on Earth is working only on military project. So good to know. And yes, this god is a god of scale, quantum chaos, and texture. It's paired with Democratic Republic of Congo, which is one of the biggest provider of raw material for computation. And also in terms of culture and artifact, it's a place when you have a lot of vernacular technology. So it's holding the little board that you see in his hand. It's called Lukasa memory board from the Luba Kingdom in Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's an object that I discovered during my research that I think is fascinating because it looks like an old motherboard. And it's a tablet of wood with beads that is used to tell story of people, of the culture of the, the story of a group, and they are used by some kind of experts that know to read this tablet, and the position of the bead is really crucial. So it's really one of those objects that embodies like pre-colonial technology. And it is a kind of play on the Miganji mask, which is like one of the masks you can see here. And this is Mancala. So yes, I just wanted to tell you a bit about how I work, and now I would love for one of you, and maybe a second person later, to come if there is a volunteer to try the prototype of this project. So if someone wants to, yes, let me just. The way it works is just as it is written, you're going to put your 2N on the 2, yes, zone. Just So this is a choice-based video game, and you have multiple questions, and the way you can navigate between them is you're going to keep your left hand, and you're going to, with your right hand, if you want to go down in the choices, you can scroll here, but you keep this hand here. Because the way this textile work is really low-key, and it's something that I stumbled upon when I was developing it. That was a problem at first, is you need to keep contact with always, if you want to go up in the choices, it's like this. And then you press here to validate your choice. If you want to validate choice, it's just like the beginning, it's both hands. And so it was a problem at first. You always need to have two contact, because the way it works is super low tech. It uses our ability, because we are made of water, to conduct electricity. But I think it's beautiful, so I decided to keep it. The idea is that it's not a metaphor. You are literally closing the system with your hand and your ability to conduct electricity. And it's also beautiful for me, because I think it's a way to integrate during, when people in the museum, they come with family, with kids, multiple people, they want to play together, and sometimes it's difficult. But if we hold hand, it also works because we are both moisturized people. So we are able to conduct electricity perfectly. So that's why I decided to keep this thing in the end. And also the fact that it's really low tech is good for me, because it means I can show this piece easily in different parts of the world. So each god has a different personality, and they are not nice. Because one thing in my game, I don't enjoy when the viewers, they get to just bath in the visual and the aesthetic, and they don't think about what they are doing, which can happen easily. So there are different choices that can eject you out of the game, because the god considers that what you said is not in alignment with how we want to answer. And for me, it's a way also to say, when we're speaking about traditional knowledge, vernacular knowledge, also sometimes knowledge that don't belong to me. It's a way to say that this knowledge cannot be shared unconditionally, and the minimal condition for it to be shared is a small level of trust, that, okay, you are paying attention. And yes, so this is one of the main questions of each game, is that the god will ask you to position yourself about what is your system of value and belief. Are you a believer? Do you only believe in your computer and your chat GPT, or are you, I don't know, a Christian, Muslim? What do you believe in? And depending on what you said, it will answer differently to you. And so the writing itself of the game, it's a mix of me feeding AI chatbot with the project and the personality of each god, and my own writing. At the beginning of the project, I wanted to create some kind of AI, autonomous, whatever, that was going to be the personality of the god. And then quickly, I realized that it will take at least 2 years to make something that is interesting and not completely, something that makes sense, and it's not just because it will take 2 years to break down the Western bias that AI chatbot already have, and to make it something interesting. And also, when I tried it the first time, super quickly, this god told me, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to nuke them? And I was like, okay, no, we are not going to do a genocide of the colonizer. So in the end, I decided that writing is still the most beautiful thing. So this is where you can ask him for a prophecy, or you can also leave, but with greater knowledge. So far, because this is like the prototype that I've been working with for a while, but now what I'm working on is a little bit to do like prophecies that are different and more tailored, but then it becomes also difficult because then I have to ask myself, who is this piece really for? Because I cannot accommodate for every single person. And sometimes the solution is just some tricks in the writing when you know that people who are a certain type of people will definitely pick that path. But yeah, writing is definitely one of the longest aspects of the project. Yes, I think it's time to leave now. Okay, that was it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Diane. So we have some time for questions, comments. Maybe I can start. I don't know, I haven't really formulated a question, but I was kind of extrapolating a bit your project to think about how fascinating these kind of mysteries and these forms of knowledge that have a degree of opacity that we cannot compute, no pun intended. And thinking about projects like yours, and even though there is a critical take on the frameworks and technological infrastructure that translate and create knowledge, I was at the same time thinking that the way in which in one way or another, data and this artistic knowledge is being input in these systems that have the biases, like you were saying. I wonder, and sometimes artists are at the forefront of decoding certain types of knowledge that are not yet decipherable, right? And I was wondering if this can have certain consequences that might be very ambiguous in a time where AI is increasingly kind of substituting certain types of and simplifying certain types of knowledge. And when exactly these types of knowledge provide that type of resistance to this obsolescence that is becoming us, our mode of thinking, and our limited capacities compared to these like quantic way of processing information. I was wondering if there's something there to be concerned, not necessarily you in the time span of this project and of this particular, but more as a meta question, because you started by asking, can the digital copy save the real thing? And I think here, I'm not sure, but it troubles me a little bit that this digital copy might, in the speed that things are going, might jeopardize the thing that makes this potent today, which is exactly this ungraspable, opaque, mysterious, undecipherable quality that you are also trying to portray. So that is kind of the thing that I was battling in and out throughout your presentation. And I wonder your take on it.
I'm battling with exactly the same thing, but I think for me as an artist, I don't know if I'm that interested in the answer. I think I'm more interested in creating something interesting within that question and then put it out there. I think, when I hear you, when I think about the front, the Mandu Yenu that I show in the beginning, and what I love with this front, I don't know if you saw it, but at the bottom, the two figures of the front, they have gun. The reason they have gun is because the colonizer came. And so then the craftsmen were like, integrated the weapon of the colonizer in the traditional craft. This is beautiful. This is crazy to me. And I think that is kind of the back and forth that I'm doing is why it's trickery, right? Because I'm using the tool that I denounce to create that. And also I create a digital copy of something that I respect. But at the same time, it's not a digital copy. This is the real compo. It's a mesmerizing dose of thread that I'm happy I'm not able to reproduce it in a way because it says something about what you said. It cannot be digitized because there is something that just cannot enter the eyes of the needle, that is digitization. So yes, I don't have an answer.
No, but I think there's maybe something about, and you've said this in your presentation, but I don't know. I think there's something about how you critically integrate that in the process and maybe how you can be more daring in terms of like really going with the artistic, how do you say that, poetic license or something, not to really evade this or even push your subjectivity even further, which is something that is there. But I don't know, I'm just thinking how to then critically integrate in the process and extrapolate or become as illegible to the system as the practices are.
Yes.
So this question of copying and documenting then has another lens to it. I also don't have the answer. I'm just thinking.
Yes. No, it's and when I'm thinking about the writing of the video game, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And also sometimes it come with feedback, I did this presentation at least 5 times, and Son had the longest session ever because every other people kept getting ejected quicker, but she wasn't ejected because, obviously as also someone from African descent and Cameroonian, she was just able to pick the answer that brought her quicker to the prophecy. So sometimes it's those things that I analyze when someone tries a video game to see, okay, how can I make it better and sharper, like you said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Incredible. I like the moment, like when you were explaining how the machine work, let's say, or how the interface worked. And for example, when you were holding hands, and this all makes me think in actually the some sort of the impasse you were looking at. I think like you have made the small decisions that keep the thing kind of analog. And I was wondering, yes, I wanted to understand better, in a sense, on how you made like exactly like this. If this decision comes from the process making and understanding in the process making that, we just better leave it like that and embrace this, or how this happened in your head, maybe if because yes, I think like the whole thing is that you're trying to do prophecies, digital prophecies, but at some point they are completely analog in the like when you
Yes.
put the seeds or when you need to touch someone. And yeah, I would just wanna hear more about how this happened, and maybe not even to the specific project, but on
Just in
yes,
general.
on in general, yes.
I'm not even sure. Sometimes, I think sometimes things start with intuition and then you kind of understand why you make them. But uh, because I started my practice with weaving, touch the thickness, that's something that is intriguing for me. It's how come this super interesting craft turned into that. Like, I mean, in terms of like hardware, like this is like plastic. This is all ta ta ta. Like somehow there is many things happening on your screen, but in terms of touch, it's always the same thing happening. So I think that's why there's always to begin with this question of how can touch come in and the analog without it being like gimmicky, with just uh, when I say gimmicky, is like it's not like you are touching different part of the weaving to create pattern. It just that sensation of having the bead under your finger. For me, it's enough. It's interesting in terms of thing. I'm not adding another layer on top of that. But where does this exactly come from? I don't always know. I love Mancala. I'm a big Mancala player. At the beginning, I was like, I'm going to do a project and there's going to be Mancalas in it because, and then I will figure out why. So
Thank you, Diane. This is super intriguing and impressive, and the grand themes that you're researching and trying to convey through your craft is like really immense and complex. So I feel like, yeah, for me, I only understand very little part. But what you said about prophecy and kind of your relation to divination and the creation of these gods, I'm very intrigued by, and I'm thinking. I have a question regarding like how in the beginning you said prophecy for you is, for example, this future vision of how calculation becomes so complex and immense and out of our capacity that it is the same thing as a prophecy because of our our incapacity of reaching there through our own, I guess, body and mind. Uh, so if that for you is a prophecy, then the God of calculation and these gods that you create, the prophecy that they gave us, now we're experiencing a little bit, is written by you, right?
yes.
So, which I think is beautiful, and but yeah, like I have a question of how I want to relate to these gods as a audience experiencing it, because what I'm experiencing is through these amazing craft and beautiful graphics and writing, I'm relating to a human as I'm reading the prophecy
Wow.
instead of to an actual image of God or something that is beyond me. So another thought and question is like, for me, like Lamoroy said, there is this two layers of your work. One is really tactile, and craft based. And I can see when I see the weaving, this sense of awe that I feel like, wow, you know, like also what you said
which I
about,
enjoy.
yeah. And then this other texture and layer that you work with, which is this computer game that is made with 3D, and so for me that is another kind of feeling when I enter an experience. For me, I enter more as a consumer because of this medium of a computer game. And then I start, I don't know, like entertain me, kind of this mode, like very much like a passive, yeah. So it puts me kind of above that. I'm above this computer game because I'm supposed to have fun with a game, right? So it's your job, the computer game, to entertain me. But when I see a piece like this piece you made with the weaving, I feel like this is more of a, yeah, this is above me because, wow, I can never do that. So there are these different kind of experience I have with the project you made. So I also wonder where you see this piece in terms of this divination or awe you engender in the audience.
Yes. For the first question, I have a very, very boring answer. I didn't want to spend 3 years on that project. I was like, oh God, no. So I'm going to write a prophecy, but you don't need to know it's me. It's, when you play a super nice video game, you don't care. You don't know what they did in the studio or whatever. If it's convincing enough, I will always pick the trickery because I don't think we need to, sometimes you want to be theoretically correct with a project so much that you lose that a good piece of writing is better than AI being like, they always answer with a question in the end, like, stop. So, I think I prefer for now at least to write them. And then that's on another project, research, I will continue these ideas that you're describing of, but in 2 years. For the second aspect, yes, I completely get what you're saying. This is why you get ejected from the game. This is for people like you. You want to be like, la la la, I'm touching, oh, entertain me, entertain me. Within 5 minutes, you're out. You don't know why. And then you have to focus because you realize that, oh, actually, while I was busy being like, oh, this is so in the visual, I miss that my action and the touch that I'm doing is what is triggering the thing. So on one scale, that's what rebalance it a bit. But yes, I struggle with that. Where is the balance between this and that, and then the sculpture? Sometimes, people, they get so fascinated with that they forgot that this is also a piece of the artwork, even if you just pass by. So,
Also a big difference is that this has a body and that's a screen.
Mhm.
So also you talk about how AI is a mind without a body, or like where's the body? For me, like what happens, it would be interesting to see these gods in their bodies. Then I would feel very different, I think. And I
Yes.
would not be ejected.
I would love to, within the budget, to do that. But for now, they will be on screen. But the idea with the installation that, I don't have an idea yet about how it's going to be in the end, but it's also how can the structure do that and not be like, okay, a textile, a screen, and how can it be more smooth? So that's kind of also, I think it will be the last step, but it will be a super important step. But it would be so nice if they could be like holograms.
Yeah.
I wish. Yes.
I think my notes and questions are like in the same wave of the other ones. First, thank you. I had a lot of fun playing the game. It made me focus a lot, and I feel like I need to play it again to really like dive in and like understand all of the
Yeah, I don't know if we
details.
can leave it a tiny bit before
Yeah.
the dinner.
That could be nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If also because only one person got to play, but
Mm-hmm. Here, my question or like commentary is much more about not only the different gods and how you write them. I think here I'm thinking, okay, if this is the perspective of the god, like how is your own like close proximity or relationship to what it evokes or the wisdom of it and everything, not to completely disregard, you know, your own uh, not only imagination, also research and legitimacy, but also thinking, is it also a collective project, you know? Is this something that you write with several hands of people perhaps from those cultures, of also people who are initiated into, you know, Zauli dance or whatever, the God's culture, kind
yeah.
of. I was thinking about that first. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, no, exactly. And I think that's also one of the reasons why, you know, I don't go too far in the writing and I don't go this way of training the AI because this is what needed to train the AI. And this is why it will take more than 2 years is how do you collect all the data, you work with the people in respect with the culture. All the countries that I mentioned, I went to, I know people from there, weavers. I met with people that gave me this knowledge, but still there is this sense of, okay, I'm not initiated to all of them. So how can you find the balance between being like, whoa, this is so cool, and how can I be respectful? And I think one thing is the design of the god, you know. They are all inspired from specific thing, but the inspiration is kind of loose because for me, if it was too close, it would be like, no, this is too much. This is too much disrespect. It's like, but pulling a little bit away and not making a copy for me feels safer. I don't know if it's best, but this is what I chose to do. But I think it would be amazing, and this is definitely because I don't think I'm done after that. You know, this is definitely the next step about how can I. And I think also it works best when you come to the people like, okay, I done that. What do you think? Because when I made the first textile keyboard that I showed really briefly on the first piece, it was with Manjak Weaver in Senegal. So I met them, I learned the craft, I did my piece. Then I came back with the artwork. They played it, they tried it, and it was a piece that was way closer to the knowledge and the craft because it was all about Manjak weaving and the knowledge and the discussion we have. When I was there, when I came back, this one is more loose, you know, like so. But yeah, definitely a wish.
Okay, the thing that struck me was the tone of writing that felt like you. And no, honestly, maybe that's because like we are roomies.
You are the first person to say that every time people are like, oh, but you are so nice and she's so rough.
Cutthroat, but
Good
yeah.
to know you know I'm
So
rough.
yeah, that's that in terms of like different personalities of those gods. Maybe there's like a range of to explore and
Yeah.
like different tones and different languages. Perhaps I don't know.
I think this one is the one that is closer to who I am because it's a Cameroonian god, but the other one are not. They are nicer.
Okay. And the second part of my commentary was much more on the user experience, and I think I came back a lot in my head to that question of positioning, and I mean positionality. And as I was playing, I realized that I didn't feel like I positioned myself that much.
You're not comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm not comfortable. It's much more that I. Perhaps the analog experience is the is I mean, it's definitely taking over, but it's.
Yes,
I'm trying to phrase it. Don't know how
but
to.
I see exactly what you are saying, because I think this is what I'm struggling on also, and that I'm having trouble. There is something that, you know.
What I'm trying to say is that as there are different gods and avatars, are there different avatars for players also?
No, you are you.
Okay, well, I think that's something maybe, for me that was lacking. The possibility, the impossibility.
Yes,
The
no,
impossibility of.
but in the final video game, not the prototype, you get at the beginning more question. You enter a small game and you type, and oh, who are you? And you type your name and you say, I'm a woman. I'm this. It's kind of, it will be like this, but less gimmicky. So you can feel like, okay, oh, this God is talking to me.
Yeah, like to me, I think it's like positionality politically. And that's also what I mean by different avatars. Perhaps because this could be interesting, and I'm also wondering how it sort of counter act with the sacredness even of the object.
Yes. That's kind of what it's trying to do when it's telling you, like, position yourself, what is your belief system. So it is written a little bit enigmatically, but me, when I read the video game, I'm like, this is a path, decolonial path, white path. I'm a little bit like, I know which path is for whom, but then again, writing to make it better. And but then also accepting that you cannot create a path for everyone. One artist that I really love is Danielle Breschule. She's a trans artist, and she also makes video game. And she makes those beautiful video game when someone are frustrated, because it's like you enter, there is free choice, and you can be either non-trans, trans and black, or I don't remember, or cis. And I'm like, but I'm just black. I'm cis black. I cannot, no. And I don't want to pick trans and black because I'm not trans. I don't want to pick just cis because I'm like, no, I'm cis and black. And so I have to pick a choice that is not me, but sometimes this is also a valid experience. I have this video game that my brother gave me where that is amazing, but you have to be this super misogynist guy that is like an alcoholic, and you have no choice to be him. And sometimes in the video game, you have awful choice. You, like, one choice, you will harass someone. I'm like, I don't want to harass someone. But this is part of the experience of the video game. So sometimes I think it is interesting to not be you.
Okay, on va continuer à parler. Hein?
I was wondering if you, because you can bring that work in this setup to exhibitions, and you can travel and bring it to other people you are curious to introduce to the work, like bracket open close what you said. But of course you could bring it to way more people if you made it, for example, a mobile game. Did you ever consider doing that?
No, because of I mean, it's so, if you don't have the textile keyboard, I don't think it's interesting. But maybe in the future when I will have like ton of goodies, like it would be a franchise, I don't know, maybe it would be God
Yeah,
of Calculation, the board
exactly.
game.
Exactly. I'm not just saying it in order to make it financially viable, other, but it's also because you said yourself you're curious about like bringing it to different people and seeing like what like in this context of creating an AI that
Yeah.
potentially
Yeah, I
is not
want
as
to.
biased and so on. So then, of course, you need to test it. You need to
Yeah.
collect, and all these AIs. Famously, like you remember, like when there was this AIs, like I don't know, 20 years ago, where they were guessing the word that you were thinking of in 20 questions, and back then it
Oh
was like
yes.
insane. This is how AI development, it
Yes.
looked like 20 years ago, right?
You can still play it.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
I
But
played
you
it
remember this? You know this.
recently. What is his name?
So now, okay, because this became way more complex in order to collect information. But of course, if you want to build an AI that is, less biased and respectful, and it's so interesting what you're working on. I think it's amazing, and if you want to do that, it's very difficult to do that from an ivory tower. You have to go out, and then you have this amazing, very attractive, very thought out audiovisual interface that you could, not saying you should, but you could use in different ways also
Yeah.
too. So I mean,
I should think about it.
I would say you should think about it. I'm not saying that, of course, I understand the beats and everything. Yeah, so maybe you can touch a beat that is next to you when you start the game. I don't know. But
One part that is
it's
difficult.
interesting to
Yeah.
think
But
about it.
one part that is difficult is when you do something like this, when you are trying to also rethink the hardware, you realize that it's so annoying because, the hardware is just like the basis of everything. When you come and you... because like, yes, a video game on a mobile phone, but then the mobile phone itself is annoying because it's plastic, boring, wrong, So I see how it could be interesting in terms of diffusion, but I think also like sometimes my fight is like, no, analog, this whole thing. So yes, but I should think about it.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to kind of reflect on the AI, this imagination of the AI being less biased. I think AI can never be less biased. And I think what's interesting in your proposition is that, for example, just to kind of think from my context, in India, like right now, like a lot of indigenous cultures and traditions and mythologies are sort of co-opted by the right wing and the main Hindu pantheon, and and it kind of creates these new morphologies of myth making, which are extremely problematic and extremely right wing. And this is compounding and creating these kind of really bizarre, like AI generated images of Hindu gods and goddesses, which have no anchors in history or anything. And it kind of erases a lot of the mythologies and the voices of indigenous people and tribal people in India. And this is happening very much on ground. And you can actually see it in, see it in election numbers in the campaigns. They use it. I'll tell you more about it. But for me, I think AI can never be less biased. It's always like super biased.
Yeah.
And I think your kind of gesture of putting these gods into the ephemera, into the AI cloud, itself is a active resistance in a positioning that is important. And I think that for me itself is more than enough. And I think that will evolve, and I think more people should position themselves, in antithetical to this looming megalomania of, these hybrid, hyper-vigilant right-wing gods that are being created, So in some sense, I like the way you use restraint when it comes to analog, and even in terms of text, like you said, one of the prompts told you about, nuking someone. And I think these gestures of restraint also kind of hold back and even problematize, the extreme positions. Yeah, just a thought.
Thank you.
How's the energy for 2 more questions? I know. How's the energy for 2 more questions?
I don't want to talk no more.
1.5, I felt the energy. 1.5.
So many questions.
Thank you for your presentation. So I was agreeing with May when it comes to the physical experience of this. So for me, this is very low tech. It's just currents, and that's kind of a choice video game.
Yeah.
So for me, there's nothing quite mysterious about the technological background of this project, but there is something special about the way that you've chosen to present it. And so we have this tension between theory, okay, theoretically you want to make a AI god that reinvents biases, and you have to make it learn stuff. You have to create something out of thin air yourself and train 3 years to do it. Or you can rely on your subjectivity. And I thought a way to do this subjectivity thing is to invest in this object. I mean, when Sun was interacting with this keyboard, I thought that there was a correlation between the way she was moving her hands with the way that you were animating this model. You know, sometimes you're moving closer to it, sometimes you're moving further from it. And I thought that how cool would it be if instead of this fabric shape, it's a sculpture, you know, hand, an ear, and each god has like a body part that you can interact with. Use the same logic as the currents, you know, you touch, you remove, and it creates an action, right? And so maybe it's less about mobile game, but more about the tactile experience.
Yeah,
and that's purely subjective.
It is, because what you are describing, I know exactly. I've seen projects like this, and I'm not interested. I love textile, and I see how it will make sense, but
No, I mean using textile sculptures.
No, thanks.
Sorry, that was my pitch. This is not my idea, so it's not a problem.
I mean, that sounds amazing, but that's just not me, you know. I'm thinking about, you know, the way the textile is going to be, or can it be different? But yeah, what you describe me sounds amazing, but it's just not me. But it's so not touchable, because, like, for example, all the textures. So one thing when I'm in 3D, one thing I'm really good at, you know, in all the field, it's called procedural texture, and it's the fact of not using images to do the texture, but using like little blocks of calculation. So whole is like moving, and this is pure calculation. There is no image here. So I would not even know how to reproduce it physically, because it's not based on like the textile, yes. But then the rest, and yeah, I see your point. You cannot harass a god, I'm sorry, it's not possible.
Okay. Half question. It's just because I forget. I'm sorry, I took it twice. Like, it's just, don't you see? It's a open question, but don't you? Because I think like this exercise, like the prophecies are yours actually.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Okay, yes, but what I see is like, do you relate this to any sort of channeling? In terms of spirituality, actually, like channeling of like, because anyway, any divination is kind of a challenging of a certain energy or certain entity. So I was wondering if you see it that way, and if you see like on your writing, it is that kind of exercise, or if it isn't, because I think that's also like when it waves beautifully, that is your writing actually. But yes, I just wondering, how do you approach that moment, or how do you approach that exercise? And yeah.
I'm not sure. I think there is a little bit of, yes, channeling. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think because, again, like, there is all the theory, but at the beginning of every project, there's a lot of intuition. And when we speak about channeling, I had a dream of this project in 2023. 4 times in a row, I had this super annoying God coming into my my dream, and hanging his head above me, like, look at me, look at my power, computation power, and that's how I started the project actually. And then I'm telling you all the blah blah blah. I'm telling you, but so I think there is a little bit of that of channeling, but this is my garden, my secret garden.
Thank you very much, Diane.